Hey everyone, I'm The Graph and this is Newsround. Coming up in the next few minutes, what's your future vision for the planet? And slippery tree snakes in another week of strange news. But first up this morning, it's been a pretty busy week in American politics, hasn't it? Well, that's not going to stop anytime soon. Next week, Joe Biden will officially become the President of the United States in an event called the Inauguration. He'll be replacing current President Donald Trump, who Biden beat in the presidential election in November. Now, we asked you to send in all of your questions about the inauguration. So here's our reporter in the US, Kizzy Cox, with some answers.
Hi Newsround. Who was the first person to have an inauguration?
The first person to have an inauguration was the first president of the United States, George Washington. His inauguration was held on April 30th, 1789 in New York City. Now today, the inauguration is always held on January 20th in the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C. So the inauguration is when a new president starts his or her four-year term. It always happens on January 20th at noon. In this case, Joe Biden will take an oath of office, so will his vice president, Kamala Harris, in front of the U.S. Capitol. Then, the new president and vice president will have a pass and review ceremony where they inspect the troops in a parade. Then, they'll be accompanied to the White House by the military and a military band. Now this is a formal and festive affair, and usually tens of thousands of people show up to watch it. But because of the pandemic, people are encouraged to stay home. That's pretty unusual for a president not to show up at an inauguration because presidents are always there. But President Donald Trump has claimed that he won't go because ever since Joe Biden won the election, Trump has claimed the vote wasn't fair and he won't admit that he lost. But the vote was fair and there was no election fraud. The outgoing president doesn't need to be there in order for the new president to take office, though. And on January 20th, Biden will still become the 46th president of the United States.
Hi, Kizzy. What will Joe Biden do if he's president of the United States?
Now, Joe Biden wants to do lots of things as president. There is a lot of challenges facing the country, and he's going to have his hands full. He wants to get the coronavirus pandemic under control. He wants to make the U.S. a leader in fighting climate change. He also wants to make big changes with immigration. He wants to stop separating kids from their parents at the Mexican border. And he wants to focus on police reform after the protests over George Floyd's death and police brutality. It's a lot of things to handle, and people are even wondering if he can get it all done. Thanks for all the great questions. See you next time.
Well, we'll have loads of stuff to bring you on the inauguration next week, but if you can't wait until then, head online for loads more information about it. Next, Manchester United star Marcus Rashford, who has been campaigning to end child food poverty in the UK, has now teamed up with Jamie Oliver and other celebrity chefs to ask the government for immediate action. They've written a letter to Prime Minister Boris Johnson to review the free school meals policy and to provide more support for families who may be struggling during the coronavirus pandemic. They want him to fix the long-term system and ask him to come up with a plan of action before the summer holidays. Next, in November, a yearly event is expected to take place in Glasgow, Scotland, where world leaders come up with ideas to build a more sustainable future. It's called COP26, and this year it's taking place with a competition that you guys can get involved in. Former CBBC presenter Kel Spellman has teamed up with wildlife charity WWF to launch it, and Martin caught up with him to get all the deets.
Kel, tell us about what this competition is.
It's called the Creative Earth Art Competition. We're asking young people to think about the future and think about what world do they want to live in? What do they want the world to look like? And it's very simple. There's like a template which has a circle on it, and that circle represents the world. and we are asking young people to draw their vision of the future on it. So that might be, you know, a world that's full of trees and forests and rainforests that aren't being cut down on it anymore. It might be a world that's free of plastic pollution, and then it is being judged by a panel made up of celebrities and some experts, and also the president of COP, who will then choose some lucky winners.
Why are world leaders being shown these drawings that kids are doing?
For me, the people who should be having a say in what they want the world to look like are you guys, because you guys are going to be the one that really are going to live with the consequences of our actions right now. The decision makers and world leaders are going to see your brilliant pieces of art, and it's really going to strike a chord, and it's going to compel them and move them to go about making the critical and important decisions that we need to see for our future, for our planet, and for our wildlife.
Right, still to come this morning, a giant gingerbread house, and this new baby rhino arrival. Now, it's Friday, so it's time for some strange news. Take it away, Shaniqua.
We all know there are some strange goings-on in the Harry Potter books, but here's a new take on the story. Terry Hartill, a previous contestant on Bake Off, has made this marvellous gingerbread replica of Hogwarts. The model took 60 hours to build, and Terry had to make all sorts of contraptions to achieve it. Fantastic! Fans of Slytherin might like this one too. A team of researchers from Colorado State University have found that brown tree snakes have a special way of climbing smooth trees or pipes. They do it by hugging them. They loop their whole bodies around the object like a lasso and tie their tails in a knot. They can then wiggle and jiggle to reach the top. Amazing and creepy. But not as amazing as how these male, yes male, seahorses give birth. These seahorses in Sydney Aquarium in Australia are part of the aquarium's white seahorse breeding program aimed at repopulating the endangered ocean animal. Here's one giving birth to lots of little babies. Looks like they're doing their job well.
And finally, a zoo in Poland has welcomed a rare Indian rhino after 7-year-old mother Maruszka gave birth to a female calf. Mother and her adorable baby are doing well, and keepers say Maruszka is a very caring and gentle mother despite weighing more than 2 tons. Right, that's all from me this morning, but why don't you head over to the Newsround website and try our quiz of the week and see if you can get 5 out of 5. I only got 3 out of 5, but I bet you guys can do a lot better. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.